That time again. Welcome back. It's Farm to the Show. Chris Dickerson, Hall of Famer, disabled list guy, and Paul Janish. You already know it. Man as deep as the ocean, crossword master, lover of all things Tex-Mex. And we are back. Paul, this is, I don't know what number of the show, but I was briefly contemplating on the drive into the office today as if we're going to start crafting dynamic duo nickname pretty soon. So for everybody out there, we would love to see your request. And then Paul, don't be afraid to start thinking about that. Cause I think that can only heighten our profile with a little, catchy nickname.
Yeah. We'll see what the fans come up with. I don't know. I'll put my head to it, but see what, come up with something nifty.
Give the people what they want. So we always love a good baseball story, whether it's, a kid, getting to throw out the first pitch after, going through something, or it's, player coming back from catastrophic injury. We love to see these turnarounds. Soroka is a great story, coming back from Achilles, not just tearing it once, but tearing it twice, made his first start. And I think was 1,100 days or 1,000 days away from the game, which is extraordinary. But got to talk about my old teammate coming back from cancer is a whole nother ball game. We're talking about Mr. Liam
Hendricks, bro, the crazy Aussie. It's pretty cool to see him.
The Aussie.
Yeah, man, back in the big leagues, dude. It's a tribute to his, his want to, his competitiveness, all this stuff, man. But at the end of the day, like, you get something that serious from a health standpoint, and you're wondering if, baseball maybe gets on the back burner a little bit with him. Knowing him, I had the opportunity to play with him as well. He's obviously an infectious guy, a clubhouse guy, a competitor, all the stuff. And I'm just fired up to see him back in the big leagues. Cause like you said, it's a tremendous feat, man.
Yeah, absolutely. My brief time with him in Toronto, just a great dude. And I think that's just the bizarre thing. It's these things happen to just like the nicest guys. And there have been some cases where there have been some high profile guys to come back. I know Mario Lemieux came back from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma back in the day, and that was an amazing feat. But Hendricks coming back the other day surely was emotional for everybody, and we had touched upon it earlier as he started to make his way back, play catch, and then getting into some of the minor league games. But that ovation in Chicago was tremendous, and you can see that he's a passionate dude, and I can just see in that passion that hit the kind of invigorating mentality to come back just as a team guy. I think that hopefully that gives the White Sox a boost, because they could use a little bit of that right now. But no doubt one of the all-time greatest returns in sports for sure.
Yeah, like I said, he's a great dude. You could tell that by not just his own dugout, but the opposing dugout standing up, giving him kind of a standing O, so to speak. I think that says a lot about what the league thinks about him and how significant the impact is of him coming back. Think about Trey Mancini a couple years ago, obviously similar situation. But anyway, good for Liam, good for the White Sox, good for baseball.
Absolutely. And Liam being one of the elite closers in the game, let's look at another. We have another milestone in the books, 400 saves for Craig Kimbrel. And I think there's, naturally when you have a big milestone like 400, people want to throw out, is he a potential Hall of Famer? Is he a potential Hall of Famer? Well, that remains to be seen. I think, he had eight seasons where he was truly elite. And if you look at the comparisons, and there's no doubt, like, I'm not taking anything away from 400 saves. Only 8 pitchers have reached 400 saves, but the two the best to ever do it, they didn't have any particular years where there was like a drop off. And he hasn't necessarily been too consistent. He's bounced around a couple teams the last few years, 20 and 2021, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Dodgers, the Phillies. ERA ballooning over 5, the last 3 years. So I think it'll be interesting to see, but he's a guy that's critical for the Phillies right now that are struggling, and they're questioning whether, he's going to be able to turn around. And I think there's a relationship there, and something is correlating is that they're just not clicking. You have big stars, big bats, big arms that just aren't getting the job done. He's currently got a 5.85 with the Phillies, and we know that the Phillies are struggling as it is, and so that's a big question there. But again, 8-time All-Star or 4-time All-Star, one of the greats, one of those Albert Pujols runs where he was like that 10, that 8-year span where the numbers he was doing were pretty sick.
Yeah, no, him and I played together in Atlanta. Craig's a great dude. First of all, happy for him because, like you said, it's a tremendous feat. Regardless, 400 saves, you just not a lot of guys have the opportunity to even do that. So, congrats to him. What you're saying about the Phillies is accurate. Obviously Trey Turner's not off to the start that he would want to. Kyle Schwarber's struggling offensively. They've had some injuries on the mound. All of those things add up to maybe them not having the record that they want to right now. They finally got Harper back. I know that helped offensively a little bit, but I'm with you on Craig, man. He's the kind of guy, though, with the kind of stuff still that can get hot and get locked in and become the shutdown guy that he's been. The 5.85 can be a little misleading for a bullpen guy because you're really talking about 1 or 2 outings that could really influence the ERA type number for a large portion of the season. So all that to say, congrats to Craig. It's a great, tremendous feat. We talked about Kenley Jansen a couple weeks ago, so good for him, man. But leading into that, let's talk about some of the younger arms, some of the guys that are taking the league by storm right now, really establishing themselves as those guys. They're throwing 100 miles an hour. They're throwing 92-mile-an-hour sliders and split fingers. A couple of guys come to mind. For me, the one at the top of the list is Felix Bautista in Baltimore, man. I think you got Cano throwing well also there at the back end of the pen. I think that has a lot to do with their early success this season. But, man, this dude he's like 6'8", 285, dude. He's throwing the ball 101 miles an hour.
He's a monster.
It's a monster, dude. It's a split finger.
He's a monster. And what you guys like? Let's think about this for a second. Pitchers over 6'4", 6'5", like we're talking about, like guys who can really get down the mound, like 6 feet, 60 feet, 6 inches. Now we're adding another foot, like more. You're already throwing 100. Like the radar's not taking into account where that ball's physically being released. So you're taking that 100 and then you're stretching it out a little bit more. So that ball is really getting on you. When you're 6'8", you're long and tall like that. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. As if it's not hard enough hitting 100, but guys like practically like handing it to the catcher. Good luck with that.
Yeah, no, the perceived velocity's got to play up, right, because of what you're talking about. But it's a shutdown guy. He's averaging almost 2 strikeouts an inning in the big leagues. That's hard to do. So I just appreciate the stuff, man. It's somebody that's going to be a cog, I would assume, assuming health for Baltimore here for a little bit.
Tim and Cano that's one right there. And looking at the rest of the list, like people have to imagine like the best closers of the game have a great setup guy. Like that is a dynamic duo that people don't often look at. And last year when Hader and Williams and Devin Williams literally like willed that team into the playoffs over the last couple years, like they're both elite closers in the setup and closing role.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal because you've kind of turned in terms of bullpen makeups of having kind of like a fireman. Obviously, you get the closer guy. The guy who comes to mind for me is Andrew Miller a few years back in Cleveland with Francona. He used him. He would come in like the 5th or 6th inning sometimes. Technically, was he the setup guy? Sure, but it's to your point, having a couple of guys down there, or at least one guy in addition to the quote unquote closer. Regardless of the time frame of the game, when the big situation presents itself, you have that guy to come in and shut the door. It's a big deal. So yeah, they're in a good spot in Baltimore for sure. Speaking of Francona, I was the guy in Cleveland right now, Emmanuel Clase. It's another unique arm, man. Again, up to 101. I saw him the other day through a slider, 93 miles an hour. He is a dynamic mover, I would say. It's a lot of action coming down.
To put it lightly.
It's crazy, man. It's fun to see. Have you seen much of this guy? Tell me your opinion on this guy.
I have. I was very fortunate to see him up close and personal last year at the All-Star game here in LA. Being at field level and really understanding, because I had only seen him on TV, but with that particular the 3 that he faced, it reminded me of a Pedro Martinez 99 All-Star moment where you're coming out, you got Jeff Bagwell, McGuire, like these guys, and he's just putting them to shame. I mean, it was just three elite athletes and All-Stars just completely overmatched. and I was blown away. I mean, 99 to 100 cutters with the 93-mile-per-hour slider. But to do that, like, that was a statement for me. If nobody knew about who he was last year, surely now they know, hopefully this year, because his stuff is outstanding and he's electric.
Yeah, those type of environments, you're right. You're exactly right. It's a forum to kind of announce your presence with authority. It's no different than, a playoff run where somebody, gets thrown into the forefront of the marketing department of the Major League Baseball. So it's doing something like that at the All-Star game it definitely, from a player's perspective, from a fan's perspective, it put them on the map.
It's impressive to watch. And I'm trying to get over it. I think about Hader and like left-handed closers, and I think I still have a little bit of PTSD left over from Andrew Miller back in the day. He's by far still goes down as one of the absolute most uncomfortable people you could face, and especially young Andrew, when we didn't really know where it was going to go.
Right. Better make sure you get your helmet on.
Coming from way behind you like Hader, and yeah, it's one of those. Definitely one of those moments where you might want to flip the helmet, jump into the right-hander's batter's box, little John Crook, action.
John Crook All-Star game, Randy Johnson.
Yeah,
I got a couple more for you though. Alexis Diaz in Cincinnati and Camilo Duvall in San Francisco. Okay, so I'm telling you, Duvall I haven't seen a ton, but he may have the longest arms in baseball. Okay, it's unbelievable, dude. And same thing, he's coming at you, throwing hard. He's got the real long arm action, so I would assume it's a goofy feel for the hitter coming at you. But again, making a presence felt. Alexis Diaz back in Cincy, man. We got some ties there. He's the brother of Edwin in New York, who obviously had the injury, but Alexis is putting his own name on the map, man. He's, from a numbers perspective, it's the same thing. 21 innings, 41 Ks. He's shutting the door at the end of the game, and the Reds have been playing well here the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been fun to see, because I mean, these guys, it's a unique group of closers, like this new age. Like, obviously we have starters that are throwing 197 into 100, which is, it's unprecedented, this day and age. But these closers are particularly electric with their secondary stuff. The splitter, 89 mile per hour, change ups, 93 mile per hour sliders. I mean, it's all, wipe out second and third pitches if need be. I've just been really impressed with some of these guys. It's just the 101, 102, even, and it sucks that St. Louis is struggling so much. Aaron or Jordan Hicks and Helsley both throwing 103 plus. So, but this particular group, I think it can be really special, where everybody's going to have like, that go-to guy, that big time go-to shut the door type of, electric arm coming out of the bullpen, which is, I think it's exciting, because I love closers coming out. I mean, it's like the whole build up, but to have like, exciting electricity coming out of the bullpen, I think it's great for baseball. I just hope they all have good walk-up songs coming out of the bullpen late in the game.
Yeah, the walk-up song is paramount, dude. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Like, we've seen this. Yeah, it's a big deal. Come on, man. The my favorite thing is the Edwin Diaz thing in New York that took fire last year. I mean, that was unbelievable, bro. Come on, are you kidding me? In terms of atmosphere, that's awesome.
That's what I'm saying. I think you can't be elite. I don't know what that's a thing. And maybe that's why he gets left out of the Hall of Fame, because nobody can remember his walkout song. Okay. Trevor, Hell's Bells, Diaz, trumpet, Mariano, Enter Stanman.
Yeah.
You have to have an elite song to be an elite closer.
They need to add that to the rookie development program. If you're going to be a closer down the road, you better start getting your walkout song right.
Note that. Sending that to the PA immediately.
Note to self.
May was a good month for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was very friendly. Got that winter snow, that ice off, shuffled that off, and some people got hot.
Yep. It's like Dusty used to say, when it gets hot, I get hot. We got a couple guys saying the same thing. Tell me who your favorite May person catching fuego is.
Well, obvious. I think it's no news to anybody. Like newsflash, Aaron Judge. This guy took over baseball in the month of May, coming back from injury. You know, he's the 302 with 18 homers right now. That's pretty good.
Yep.
We're at the end of May. Today's June 1st. You got 18 homers. We're still, a month away from All-Star game. I think with this where he's at, 357 and 11 homers in 1 month. And I think going back to what we said about the tipping the pitches and the finding the signs, like it didn't matter. Like it's completely irrelevant. You have Chris Bassett talking about that he lied. Okay, fine, he did lie, or it's just like, I'm just that good. And you had mentioned that. Okay, we spit on sliders like it's no big deal, but his numbers show us that it wasn't a fluke. Like he didn't need any help that particular series to do what he's doing right now. He's on absolute fuego on both sides of the ball too. Like the play he made the other day was ridiculous. And I think May, all in all, like there is, between him and Acuna, he has reestablished himself back in the picture of who is the best player in the game.
Yeah, he's leading the league in OPS, man. Here's what I like about Aaron Judge is the presence. The presentation. He's very professional, takes care of business. Obviously, he's enormous, right? So when he walks into the room, everybody's paying attention. It's good for him. It's good for the Yankees. Obviously, it's good for baseball for him to be playing well. He's obviously locked in. I know to your point, going back to the signs deal, the ball. It's in slow motion to him right now. It looks like with what he's doing. So it's good for him. Fun to watch. I'm glad he's healthy. Remember, he had a little bit of that stint on the IL real quick that I know scared some people, but it looks like they got that right appropriately. And I'll be honest. The other thing is, it looks like he's having fun, man. It's fun to hit 370 and over the last 15 games and hit a bunch of homers, a bunch of RBIs. But it looks to me like he's having fun and the team's doing well.
Yeah, I would be having a ton of fun too if I was robbing home runs and hitting balls in Toronto. I'd be psyched right now.
Right. Tough to mess that up.
Yeah, exactly. And then, what people don't notice, I think, with right now where he's at, I hope that people are taking into account that the time that he's missed, but he's hitting a home run every 9.5 at bats, which is on pace for him to exceed his own record from last year. It's not just it's not just the doubles, it's the pace that he's hitting these home runs right now with the time, like 2 weeks on the IL for a hip and then come back and do this is wild.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a home run race over there in New York. We got Polar Bear Alonso. He's got leading the league with 20 homers, and Judge is chasing him. He's got 18. He's coming quick. So I think that's I'm sure obviously in New York that's a big deal, but even the game that's a big deal. It's fun to watch those guys go at it and exchange back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Polar Pete versus the Judge across, crosstown home run battle. And then, just from like a size and Godzilla standpoint, I feel like we're going to have like a little like side match between Bautista and Judge, just the battle of the mammoth humans.
100%, man. They're those are large men, strong men. Both of them, the if anybody has the opportunity to go watch these guys take batting practice, it is something to see, man. They can hit balls where other people don't, and they do it with some relative ease. I'm sure they got to be our leaders in the clubhouse, right? I hope that they both will participate in the home run derby this year, because I think at this point it's safe to assume they're going to be in it, assuming health.
Yeah, I feel like, it's almost like, it's like an actor getting typecast. It's like if you win a couple and, you're going to people expect you to do it every year. And I think that's where Polar Pete is. I mean, every home run derby marketing asset that MLB got is, it's the same pick, it's between him and Bryce, but I think Pete is a 2 or 3 time champ, but it's I personally want him to be back in it because I love watching it, because it's not hard, it's not easy to do. It's so difficult for him to do, and he seems to never come down with the post home run derby slump. But interesting thing is to be like a crosstown home run derby in games, in real life, with games that actually matter. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, Pete, he embraces the derby concept, the aura, all the stuff. It's fun to watch. I'd be shocked if he's not in it again.
Yeah. Well, going into this, it's great to have right-handed hitters, but I'm particularly looking for it. We need somebody with some stupid pop. Going back to Seattle, I want to see some people hitting the balls off the windows this year out there with the restaurant up there in Seattle. So just make a note. We got to have a power lefty get in this mix as well.
Jordan Alvarez, maybe.
Oh, Jordan. There we go.
Sure.
And another thing about Judge that's really interesting to me, it's not just the home games. He went into Toronto, caused absolute havoc. And really, if you look at it, like that's all he's done. He's gone on the road. He's hitting .410 on the road. Like, granted, it's bad enough having 15, 20,000 Yankees fans on the road at your own stadium. But doing the stuff that he's doing, like he's been leaving these stadiums quiet. Game tying homers, game winning homers, clutch RBIs. But to go into other people's houses and hit .410 is pretty special, and that's a great neutralizer when you don't have the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium. And for anybody who's arguing that he has a short porch and he can inside out balls, no, we don't have that argument right now. What he's doing on the road is exceptional.
For sure. No, and flipping from some of these obviously established guys to a couple of young guys in the league playing good. McLean and Cincy's he got called up 3 weeks ago, off to a crazy start. Just won Player of the Week, hit .480 the last week. I think he's hitting .350 on the year, playing shortstop every day, hitting second. Dynamic young player. I think that's fun to see. For me, the other one is Francisco Alvarez in New York, young catcher playing every day for Buck Showalter over there, who's for me going to help usher him in terms of carrying himself the right way and learning the game at the major league level. If that makes sense, this guy's already polished, but he's raking. Everybody knew he was a good defender. I think he's the 6th best defender in the league, and off to a good start offensively. Good to see some young players. Yeah,
100%. I'm glad that they're living up to the hype. I know we had the Jordan Walker thing early coming out of spring training, but McLean the stuff he was doing in Louisville this year, he was leading all of the minor leagues in slugging this year, and he's carried that over. Mm-hmm. I think he's got 8 homers, hitting .357, so that's awesome. But I had heard the stories about this Alvarez kid, and he's seamlessly made a splash into the big show with no problem at all. Quick take: what do you got on Semien? Because I think he's not getting the love with everything going on in Texas right now with the historic season that they're having. Where does he fit in with you right now?
Yeah, I think he's in a great spot. I think early in his career he's playing shortstop, wasn't great defensively. I think now he's converted over to second base. He's in a lineup now that's leading the league in runs. He doesn't have to be the guy, and I think that benefits him. He's a really, really good player, and offensively specifically, he's leading off for them most of the time. I'm a fan of Semien, I think, in particular because you got other guys to kind of shoulder the load of quote unquote being the guy. But for me, really good Major League Baseball player. He's been in the top 5 of the MVP voting a couple of times, man. Like, that's not easy to do. So he's a pretty good player for me. I like Semien.
It'll be interesting to see how we go into June. But May was a special month around baseball. A lot of familiar faces have kind of come out of their shell. A lot of us have struggled. But we'll continue to keep tabs on a lot of these stories and performances around the league. This is Farm to the Show. Paul Janish and Chris Dickerson. We will see you next week.